So good evening all. Thank you for joining for today's Adda session. So this is the 56th edition of this session, Adda session, in which we, on a monthly basis, we try to bring some alumni members from diverse fields to share their experiences and thoughts with the alumni members. So today we have Kunal Sinha. He is a 1995 batch alumnus. So Kunal has graduated from BIT Misra with a degree in engineering, and then he completed his MBA from SP Jain uh, SP Jain College in Mumbai. Uh, he has previously worked with National Engineering Industries, ISRO, Frost and Civilian, and KPMG. In this session, he will be talking about his wide range of experience of working in the field of aerospace, defense, and space industry. So, without much ado, I think it is. I will invite Kunal Sinha to take over the proceedings.
All right. Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. So thank you so much for this opportunity, Satyam and the whole alumni team. So as Satyam said, I think when Ritesh asked me about the topic, I felt like I think it will be good to just talk about this industry, aerospace, defense, and space, because some of you may know, some of you may not know, but because this is a industry which is not like very much visible to a lot of people, and there are some unique insights about this industry. So wanted to talk about some of the uniqueness of this industry, what makes this industry unique, and also my entry into this industry. It was not a planned one. Circumstances changed one after another, and I think I have been in this industry for like almost 10-15 years now. So that's the purpose. As Satyam said, I will we have like 4 or 5 charts, and charts are just a means to facilitate the discussions, nothing else. I will try and wrap up that within the next 30-35 minutes, and then if you have any questions, I will be more than happy to answer those questions there. So with that, let me go to the slide 2 here, which is I thought of before I jump into anything, I thought of introducing myself properly in
फुल
terms of
स्क्रीन
both.
करो फुल स्क्रीन करो कुणाल
Oh, okay, hold on. Hold on. Is it full screen now?
यस
Perfect. So Satyam already talked about my, the places from which I studied. So won't go into that. Hometown is Patna, but currently I'm located out of Charlotte in North Carolina state in United States. So personal wise, I guess I, I'm married with 2 kids. My son is in grade 9. My daughter is in grade. She will be completing grade 3 this year, so grade 4 and grade 9 there. Both are and my wife, she is teaching right now in a local university here in North Carolina. So she has been a teacher throughout. She mostly into the area of computer science and this data analytics side. So that's my family. We have moved across a lot of places with my family. I think I started when I got married, I was in Ahmedabad. Then I moved then we moved to Kuala Lumpur for some time, moved back to Delhi, then back to Singapore for some time, then moved to US here. So it has been a lot of changes for my family there. But they have coped well, so all good. The other 2 pictures that you see is sort of my just wanted to give a glimpse of the professional side. So the one that you see is F-35, which is I'm standing in front of that. That was in one of the air shows. It may be Bangalore, it may be Singapore. I don't remember exactly. Um, During the work, I get some good opportunity to travel. So the picture that you see is based out of Chicago. This is where Swami Vivekananda gave his address to the Parliament of Religion. So this is a place, and this place is known as Swami Vivekananda Way. So I think I took a picture of that place. So it's very nice. If you are in Chicago anytime, just visit this place. The 2 pictures below that are pictures with my RKMV friends. The one that you see on the left was in London, I guess, with you see Ritesh, you see Mukesh, I think Nitin and Sachin there. And the one on besides that is we had in Singapore where Sankalp, Amit Mukherjee, and myself were there. I think Sankalp visited that, and we clicked that picture. So so with God's grace, I think so. I think I've been. I think it has been a great journey so far. Uh, on the areas of interest, I think I like going into the nature a lot, which fortunately US provides a lot of those kind of opportunities. Um, movies are a very are very close to me. I watch all kind of movies. Just yesterday, I watched Bhakchak, which was released on Netflix, so it was good. Um, I do like house cleaning stuff. Maybe that came from I think from my Vidyapeeth days where we used to where we used to clean the houses. So that is something that I do on regular basis here, because in US, as you know, I think you usually do your own stuff. There are hardly any mates or anything, so you have to do the own stuff. So which so this that practice comes in handy here. So all good. Um, as I All right, I just wanted to. Sorry, I think somebody. All right.
होस्ट को ना विनोदानंद का माइक ऑफ करना है.
In terms of my professional side, I wanted to take some time just to explain in terms of how I entered into this industry. So as usual, I guess after my engineering, I got into a company called NBC, which was a ball bearing company, but spent very limited time there. I I don't know. I think my father told me, or sort of he was very keen that I pursue some of those IAS, IES kind of thing, and that forced me to leave my job and do that 1 year of um, the slog that you do in Delhi there. But it but I think I realized I think I don't want to go into that part. So fortunately, ISRO came along that way, and that was my first entry into aerospace, I would say. So that helped me get into the aerospace industry. So it was that was the first time I think ISRO was going for a major recruitment. So that helped me, I think, get into this industry. Very good experience, 3 to 4 years there. I was placed in Ahmedabad, but I visited all the other ISRO centers in India at that point of time, whether it was in Trivandrum, in Bangalore, in Hyderabad, there, Sri Harikota, where the space gets launched. So it was good experience. So more than that, I think the people I met were very good. So so that was good. But I left ISRO around 2008 to pursue my MBA, because I wanted to I felt like I will do much better in business rather than in the technical background, and that resulted in me leaving ISRO, which was not taken very, my family was not very happy with that decision, but I continued with that path. Unfortunately, the year I passed was extremely bad year for business environment. It was just after financial crisis 2009. So as you can understand, there was hardly any jobs in the market. So that was a tough time, but with God's grace, I think everything went well. I There is a company called NSR, which is a research company. They took me on, and I think ISRO helped me because of my background in ISRO. They said that you have to write some market research reports on the space industry. So that opened the door to Frost and Sullivan. That's where I went to the Asia Pacific region. From then, I think for the family background, I had to move back to India, and then I applied for some of those companies called KPMG. That took me. But overall, I think I have worked. If you see this journey throughout this consulting or ISRO side, it was partly related with aerospace, and I didn't realize I was making a career into this industry. And then I came into this proper hardcore industry of coming back from professional services back to the industry, and that's where I guess I have been over the last 8 years so far now. Yeah, I will be completing 8 years almost in this company, but that company has gone through multiple acquisitions. But this is like a premier aerospace company. If you search RTX, it's the largest aerospace company. Our revenues are more than Boeing and Airbus. So I think we are this, or maybe we are second largest. Lockheed Martin is the first one. So, but we are among the top 5. So it's a big it's a big company, and I think this they have provided me good opportunities to move around as well as learn new things. So thankful for all that part. But I just wanted to give you perspective in terms of um, I think as they say, I think you can look life backward itself, like the connecting the dots part. You cannot do that. You can leave life forward, but look life backward, and that's what it is. When I look like backward, I guess somehow something opened doors for next one. I think, and I have been in this industry, so uh, so so that's a topic for discussion. So we will go to the next chart here. And again, feel free to ask questions at any point of time. You don't have to wait at the end
I
of the
think
presentation.
Jiteshda has raised his hand and asked that
Okay, sorry.
can you
Yeah.
please like elaborate on this first thing that you received a lookout notice something in your first job?
Oh yeah. That was that's the thing. So you know what, you are innocent when you are in the first job. You don't even know how what's the process of resigning looks like. And I think what I did was like I resigned without actually telling anybody, or without actually putting in a formal resignation. So that was purely, I would say, the first job. You don't know what to do, and I think I felt like I will be coming back, and maybe that was my fault at that point of time, that I should have properly resigned. And I guess they sent me a letter, not me, but the address, the home address that I had given out. So they had sent me that address that Kunal has been asked to come back to job immediately, else he will be terminated and all this stuff. So I I didn't even bother to reply that. But in hindsight, I feel bad about it. I think I should have left the company properly with whatever are the rules and regulations. I didn't follow that part. So that's what I'm saying. So I think when the challenge at that point of time was like my parents were insisting that I don't pursue the job. I do prepare for some of these exams, and I was in dual mind at that point of time. But I took their opinion. I think that was the last time I took their opinion, at least in the professional areas, because it completely backfired. I think that 1 year was extremely bad year for me. I think both mentally as well as professional wise. It was all 1 year I spent in one room in some place in Delhi there. So the lessons learned is that if you have to do anything, just do with your full heart. If you know that you are not going to give 100%, don't do that part. So I should have listened to my heart at that point of time and continued with my job, rather than taking that competitive exam preparation out. But the good thing is that now that I look back, probably I would not have applied to ISRO if I had not been preparing there. So in a sense, it all worked out well, and that's why I'm saying so. God has something in place for you, and I think you just have to follow that path. So, but yeah, I think lessons learned is that um, I should have followed. And I think this is purely the first job, and you don't know what to do, and nobody is there to guide you there. Maybe that was, and I think I didn't seek guidance also, so my fault. There are other questions. Let me see. Okay. Um, Let me go to the next chart. So before I jump into the industry, I think you will be surprised to know that there are several things that you have in this industry that you use in your day-to-day life. And I wanted to capture a couple of items here which you can see. But if you look at it, I think a lot of things that you use in day-to-day life somehow got and military funds a lot of R&D. I think there is every government has got a research agency where what they do is that they collaborate with industry. They give them money, and they say that this is the broad problem statement we have. Can you solve something on this? Can you work on this? And they fund that IP side. So they fund the technology and development side, and so that's how. So and what I put here is just some of that. There is a whole lot of inventions, there's a whole lot of R&D cycle that goes into this industry, which you find in the common applications there. Some of the things that that you may be well aware about, like internet, GPS, aviator glasses, duct tape, microwave, cargo pant. These are like common ones that everybody knows, but there are several things you can see here. Things like drones that all started in the defense side, like 20 years back or 25 years back. They started with playing with drones or precision guidance side. Um, all the frozen foods that you see, I think that was all started from that part. Some of those unique things like blood transfusion or the weather radar side. So there are so many things both on the food side as well as the application side that was all used in military side. But now that military felt like we can transition that back to the commercial side, and we see these items in our day-to-day life. So wanted to have that put that perspective here before I jump into the uniqueness of this industry. All right, so I know there are too much information. I will not go into all this, but I just wanted to give some heads up here. As you know, when COVID, and I think when I talk about aerospace and defense, commercial is a big part, military is a big part, and the space is a big part. So I will take each of them one by one. But let's start with the commercial, because that is something everybody of us use on a day-to-day basis. So if you think about COVID side, and I was part of that whole planning process at that point of time, like when the COVID stuck, I think we felt like the market will recover back only by 2025. So we had put all the plans together. So we felt like we are going to lose 5 years of growth completely. Uh, that didn't fully materialize. We were partially correct because market has completely recovered now. So 2024 market is not completely recovered. It's a challenge in the mix. I mean, I'll talk about that. But if you see this graph on the left hand side, the first one, I think what it tells you that on the left is the January 2020, what was the traffic at that point of time, and then the current state of the traffic. So everything is back except for the Asia Pacific region side. But overall, the traffic in India, I think traffic has rolled back completely. I think, in fact, it achieved the 2020 levels in last year itself. So I think the challenge is not in the traffic side. So there is a huge demand. The good part about, and I think when I look back at any industry driver, if you look at it, ultimately, what does commercial aviation do? Commercial aviation helps people connect with each other. There was Zoom. I think people always said that with Zoom, I think business travel will go away. People will not like to travel. I and I think we all had doubts at that point of time how much of that business travel will go. When I think what we have seen is that it is still back. I ultimately manage a social animal, and for any business you have to go in person, and that's what has happened. There are some meetings that is still fine, that are still having on Zoom, but people are still traveling back to what they used to do, even with all the technology that is available right now. So the fundamentals of this industry remains strong in the sense that you need to travel, you need to meet people. With all the globalization that is happening, people every year, people students are traveling, with students parents are traveling to that country for studies, etc. So the overall traffic has come back pretty fast, which is good thing. But the problem is the supply side. You may have read in newspapers and articles about challenges that is happening in the supply chain side. So Boeing, Airbus, they are not able to deliver the aircraft. So there is a demand, but because of the supply chain side, we are not able to deliver the aircraft. Just to put things in perspective, there are almost like 15,000 aircrafts on backlog right now. When I say backlog, that they have received order, they have received some partial payment, and but they have not delivered those aircrafts yet to the airlines, like let's say Indigo or Air India. And if you just if you just add that how much work it will take to deliver those aircraft, it's like 20 years of factory work. So I would say that maybe 15 to 20 years of next 15 to 20 years of factory work, they already have the work. So much of work is there that next 20 years is already booked for them. So if you order any aircraft right now, you will not get it. You will get it only in 2030 or something. So it's a unique industry in the sense that you have to order. If you start your business, let's say if you want to start an airline, you have to have a plan which is like 5 year behind. You have to start that, or the other option is that you lease the aircraft from some of the lessors, which is a costly option. But the thing is that there is so much of work right now, and they are not able to deliver, which is a good problem to have, but not a good problem for the airline. That's why if you see here right now, because of the challenge in the delivery, air price tickets are very high because there is not much capacity in the market. Airlines are still using the old aircrafts, and they are not getting new ones that they were promised. On the third chart, which is the defense side, if you see this chart, I wanted to give some perspective here. Almost 50% of the defense budget of the world is all catered by the U.S. government. It's like it's a big brother in the whole defense industry here. If you look at it, China, the other major countries, that is all equivalent to US side. And some of this stuff that they do, I think, right now, all this stuff, most apart from the usual production of the aircraft, helicopters, etc., and missiles, etc., that is happening, there is a lot of technology work that goes on, and I will talk about that. But just giving a perspective, because of this whole threat environment that we are in, every country wants to secure itself. The budgets are all the countries' budgets are going up, whether it is Europe, whether it is India, whether it is US, even China for that matter. China is pushing the defense budgets up in the whole Asia Pacific region. So the overall market fundamentals, I would say that it's fairly steady and stable growth of this industry, and all these are like long haul kind of industry, which you get some work, but you will deliver it 5 years down the line. It is not like immediate delivery.
Uh, Kunal, I have just one question that if there is so much demand for aircrafts and like the current Airbus and Boeing are not able to supply, then why are we not seeing entry of a new player? Like,
Yeah,
what's the
no, that's a good question, and I think people have been trying this. The challenge is that it's a duopoly right now. It's just Airbus. We have China. We have China has started a new aircraft called Comac. So they are the new entrant, but it's a very difficult process. For example, Bombardier, if you know a company called Bombardier, it is based in Canada. They came up with a new aircraft, but it requires so much of work in just, you can build the aircraft, but we will not be able to sell the aircraft, because the selling the aircraft requires, your service stations, your ability to serve the aircraft. Um, you had Mitsubishi in Japan. They were so close to coming up with aircraft, and at the last stage they gave up. So what I mean to say that the complexity of this whole aerospace industry, and some of it is self-made, or I would say the self-interest by both US and the European companies. They have made it so complex, the certification wise, that it's impossible to enter into, not, I would not say impossible, but very difficult to enter a third player in the market. India has been trying that. So India, as you know, NAL is called National Aeronautical Lab, which is based out of Bangalore. They are trying to come up with a small aircraft, 80-seater aircraft, and they have tested it. But the business case just doesn't make sense. Nobody, and I will show to you, there are so many sub parts of it, and you cannot have capability of it. So you need to rely on the other suppliers to supply you that parts. There are seats, there is galleys, there is lab, there is avionics systems, there are nacelles, there are engines. So all of that requires you to partner with the Western suppliers, and they don't see the business case because they feel like how much Indian aircraft will sell. Maybe 100, 200. I think the business case doesn't make sense. So they don't support that. So to overcome that, government goes for that same Atmanirbhar route, but that is a long haul process. I think it takes such a long time to develop an engine. India has been working for so long, has not been able to develop. I think they are now working with GE. Last time Joe Biden came, I guess they've signed an agreement with GE for engine side. So to shortly answer your question, Satyam, I think it is the complexity of the certification as well as the complexity of the parts. And that's why this aerospace manufacturing is more or less always called as a gold standard. If you can manufacture an aerospace like an aeroplane in your country, I think that is always considered like you have achieved the highest level of manufacturing excellence required.
So we have two more people
Yep, go
raising
ahead.
their hands. So I think firstly, Abhishek, you can unmute and ask your question.
Hi, Kunal.
Hey,
My
namaskar.
question is, we have HAL, right? HAL in aeronautics business,
Yep.
government. So, would like to know what is the role, how it functions, and does it manufacture or not?
HAL does. So HAL, as you know, I worked in HAL for 1 month. So, but I know the company as a lot. HAL, as you know, I think they are mostly into the aeronautical side, aviation side. So they just produced the Tejas aircraft, Tejas Mach 1, Mach 2, both of that. So, and which is a single fighter, but the Tejas Mach 2 is dual pilot aircraft. Most of the work that HAL has done in the past, as you know, India procured a lot of defense stuff from Soviet government at that point of time, primarily because of the way India was doing business in the past, and also because of the lower cost of the Soviet ammunitions that you get. So we used to whenever Soviet government provided us materials, or let's say they provide you tank, let's say they provide you Sukhoi or Mirage, etc. aircraft. There is just like you have a car, you need servicing of that car, right? So when any aircraft come, taking an aircraft is easy, but the servicing, just getting the aircraft ready, mission readiness, that's the word called in industry. Is the aircraft mission ready or not? That requires a lot of service work involved. So Russian government used to work with HAL to get them that at least you repair the aircraft. We will provide you the aircraft. You get some expertise in the repair of the aircraft. That was the major business of HAL in the past. Slowly and slowly, as Satya mentioned about this whole self-reliance part, so the HAL was asked to get up and build a new aircraft itself because it is so costly to procure. So, and that's what this Tejas aircraft come. It was a 20-25 year period, but at least finally they were able to build a new aircraft. So they are moving up the chain, but still it's a long haul, I think. So the Rafale that, as you know, Rafale aircraft deal that was signed in the past with French government. So I think 20 or 25 will come in ready-made condition, but the remaining ones, I think the remaining 20 or 25 will be all assembled in HAL. So they are also now doing the assembly work of the aircraft so that they can learn along that process. So they are moving up, but still I think there is a lot of work to be done.
So, will they be coming in this Airbus for passengers for private use?
That is NAL. So I don't know the relationship between NAL and HAL. So NAL, the mandate for NAL is commercial side. Mandate for HAL is mostly on the defense side. So that's the distinction between these two companies. So NAL is National Aeronautics, which is mostly about build a new aircraft. So they made Saras, I guess, if you remember, but Saras was like 25 or 50 or 30 seater aircraft, and it was not very successful. But now they're planning for almost a 90 to 100 seater aircraft, just like a turboprop, but they are still working on it.
Thank you, Kunal.
No problem.
Binodananda, you can unmute yourself and ask.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
we
yes,
can.
yes, yes, sir.
Yeah. Kunal, I'm from 79 batch.
No, sir. Yeah.
Nice to know that you're working with defense. I also retired from ONGC just last
Very
year.
good, sir. Yep.
I wanted to know if there's a demand and supply gap of so much in commercial aircrafts. What is the way out?
I guess the way out, first of all, thank you, sir. I think the way out right now is they are trying to ramp up the rates. See, everything was going well before COVID. Unfortunately, the challenge right now is that all these tier 2, tier 3, mostly tier 3, tier 4 suppliers are in so much of a distress because of the financial reasons. I will give you an example here. So you may have heard about Indigo aircrafts right now in India.
Yes.
There are a lot of aircraft right now just cooling down in the on the airport because of because of a Pratt and Whitney engine issue. Now the challenge is, uh, and this is all goes back to supply chain. So the challenge is that there was a powdered metal. So there is a casting of an engine. In the casting of the engine, you have a powder metal. So that powder metal, when you heat it up, there is a contamination that happens, and
Yeah.
because of that contamination, the engine can rupture much quickly than the scheduled time frame. Let's say the scheduled time is like after 25,000 hours, we need maintenance, but it will rupture maybe 10,000 hours itself. So what they have done is that even the existing airlines, existing capacity that is already flying, they are putting it when they are taking that airline off from the rooster and going for maintenance. So that is one reason. I think that is one. The second part is the all the OEMs are now ramping up the rate. So Airbus, for example, they are saying that every month they will manufacture 75 aircrafts. It's easier to set that just because they all want to get money. All want to get more orders. So ramping up the rates, that's the only option left for them. But because of the complexity of the supply chain, because both Airbus and Boeing are just at the end of the day, they're just integrators. They need to get parts from the supply chain side, and challenges in the supply chain. They because of the COVID challenges, they are now so constrained with the finance side. People left the companies. They don't have the cash, so they're not able to invest into the tooling side. So they're not able to expand the capacity of the factory. So all that is there. So think industry is coming together, but as I said, because of this whole capacity issues, the airfares are like an all-time high right now, and it is likely to continue for the next 2 to 3 years. I don't see any way out of right now, unless you know. And things will be changing, but over the next 2 to 3 years, only things can get normalized once the airlines start ramping up. So that's the only option, and airline are aware about that. Not airline, OEMs are aware about that, and they are trying to expand their own capacity.
And I suppose India has ordered around 1,000 aircraft.
Yeah, almost 800 to 900. You're right.
Okay, so if what you say that completion period will take almost 20 years. So is it
Almost
not
20 years.
important for them to put up a new unit in India?
That's why I'm saying. So it's always, it's not easy to do that. I think every country wants to have a FAL, which is the final assembly line in India, final assembly line in their respective countries.
Yeah.
So if you see the history of Boeing and Airbus, the only country beyond their home country where they have put their assembly line is in China. So both Airbus and Boeing have an assembly line in China. And to give you perspective here, China has like almost 4,000 aircraft in capacity right now. India has like less than 1,000. So, and then they put it at that point of time primarily because of the incentives that Chinese government was giving. So I think you have a valid point, and I think that's what the government of India keeps raising with both Boeing and Airbus. But they keep skirting this issue. They are saying that, we are already working with your industry. Why you need a final assembly line? Um, there are some challenges associated with, but even if you put a final assembly line, that is not going to help you, because there is a backlog, there is a queue already, and both of them have to give the aircraft based on the queue everybody is in. So even if you I think you put assembly line, that aircraft which will be assembled in India, that will be sent to somebody else because they are first in the queue there.
Okay,
So
that also
yeah.
helps them also, no?
Yeah, but the investment required is huge. I think if you see the final assembly line, it's a huge investment, and I think everybody doesn't want to take that risk.
Anyway,
But
you are more from defense side. So just as a query, I'm making that the way you are using civilian aircraft and military aircraft, is there any possibility that you retired some of the military aircrafts and can it be converted to for civilian use as an interim measure?
they always do that. Like, for example, if you see the
Especially
transport
the
aircraft,
transport aircrafts
that's what I'm
having
saying. So
large
all
capacity.
yeah, all the transport aircraft like C-130 or KC-395 that you see there, They are all civilian aircraft that has been. So what happens is that any wide body aircraft like 787, A350, whenever they reach the end of the life, they strip out all the interiors of the aircraft and they make it either freighter or the cargo aircraft or the special purpose aircraft called the military aircraft, and that's what it happens. But the reverse, I have never seen that, and I think that is never the practice because the certification is required. The FAA certification is different, the DoD certification is different, so it's a different certification requirement, and that's where the challenge. So the reverse is always possible, and that's what happens. Like civilian aircraft can be converted into a VIP purposes or the military aircraft, but the reverse never happens.
It never happens, or it is not given a try.
It never happens because that was made for a different purpose. So any mission craft aircraft, any mission readiness aircraft is made for a different purpose. Civilian aircraft requirements are very different. So it's always that requirement never matches. So you just cannot certify the aircraft.
Okay, my query is answered. And one more thing:
Yeah, go ahead.
is your company by chance planning to come to India?
They are already there, sir. They are already there, but it is mostly into the.
I mean, it has got an implied answer for my question. If your company is coming, that means your fighter is also.
No, but the thing is, if you think about India, everybody is using India is about captive centers. So it's all about the captive center capability because of the capabilities that you have in the engineering side, in the software side. That's what people are using India for. So for example, Pratt and Whitney or our company, they all have a digital technology, digital excellence center here, but they don't manufacture anything here. That's a challenge right now. So they're manufacturing right now, but at very small scale, not like a full system of aircraft. I would say it is sub to subsystems of the aircraft.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. No, thank you, sir.
Kunal, we have one more question in the chat box.
Okay.
So who owns the IP and commercial rights when the military funds research? So some product has been
Yeah.
manufactured through military, then these IP rights, who owns
Yeah,
them?
no, I think that's a good question, and I think that's what you have to you need to have that contractual agreements correct. So no black and white answer here. I think it depends on who is the risk sharing partner. I think if the government is the majority of the risk sharing partner, IP rests with them. If like for example, you have this any aircraft, for example, this right now everybody is working on this collaborative combat aircraft, which is um, eh, the combat aircraft will be there, but everybody the 3 or 4 suppliers can collaborate together to make that autonomous aircraft. So government has given a spec and they are saying that you work on this, you develop these technologies, but they have not given funding, so the IP will be resting with the suppliers. So based on who gives the funding, IP rest with them.
Okay.
All right, so I know I am slightly late, but so this uniqueness of this industry, I wanted to talk about that, and I think part of that I covered. Um, 3 things here. It's a very regulated industry. It's as I said, it's a duopoly. At least if you look at the commercial side, it's purely duopoly, just Airbus and Boeing. At least on the major aircraft, there are Embraers, there is China Comac, there is Mitsubishi Jets, etc. But they're all very small players. If you look at 90 to 95% of the market, it's all Airbus and Boeing, and they are regulated by the aviation, I would say, administration in the respective countries. So FAA is there in US and ESI is there in Europe. Both of that regulate that. So any change that happens in the aircraft, you'll be surprised to know. For example, let's say I make an aircraft and Air India wants a seat. Now Air India will like to have a seat in its own logo, own color. Even that simple change has to go through a certification process. So you cannot use a seat which is used in Lufthansa to Air India. Just to change the seat from the Lufthansa to Air India, you just change the dress cover. That's all you do. You change the livery of the aircraft. You change the the leather of the aircraft based on Air India colors. That has to go through the fire, the certification requirements, fire testing, toxicity testing. So many testings are there just to make sure that anything happens in the aircraft, the fire is contained and nobody will be hurt. So it is such a regulated, and I think that's the reason why aviation industry is such a safe industry. If you compare to all other modes of transportation, it is like one in lakh. That's what I think. That's the ratio that the people bring in terms of the accidents there. Number of fatalities, not accident, number of fatalities. So any small change in the aircraft that has to go to the certification. They have to certify, they have to put a stamp. Only then you are able to offer that to the airlines. So that's why I'm saying, so Air India, it is not that Airbus and Boeing can simply supply a jet to them. There are internal requirements. There are seats. There is a branding that involved. Everything has to be certified before it can be delivered to the customer. So extremely regulated, extremely complex, I would say. Those things make this whole industry very complex. I was talking about, I wanted to talk about this licensing parts. All the major professions in this industry are licensed. So essentially, anything, if you want to work in this industry, you have to get some license just to make sure that you work. And if you look at the chart below, which I put here, there are tremendous demand. They are not able to get the right people. So there is a huge demand in this industry, considering the growth trajectory that you saw. So we are not able to fulfill that demand. Sorry. So licensed workforce. And I already talked about the certification side and the supply chain side. So if you look at this aircraft and all the parts here, everything gets certified. Any change happens, you have to go back to the certification authority and tell that, hey, this is the change I want to do. These are the tests I have done. These are the results. Is it okay or with you or not? They will go through that. They will work. Right. For example, I will tell you, right now AI/ML is a big thing, and we want to use AI in the aircraft. For example, if you are in a business class seat and suppose if you are sleeping, and crew can see that you are sleeping, but the lights are on, or a blanket is not there, the notification will go to the crew. They will come to you. They will put the blanket, switch off the light. So that requires some bit of intelligence work there. We are trying to get that certified with the air with the what's that called, the authorities. I think we have to provide all the details, everything there, and so they have been sitting for like 6 months now. So I mean to say that any change that happens, and they're planning to build a whole white paper on the AI, how to use AI in the aircraft, within the aircraft, not on the aircraft, within the aircraft, all those things. So the certification challenge make this industry a lot more, and I think to answer some of the questions that more or less you asked, why can't we move from duopoly to multiple players? I think this is the major reason, because the barriers to entry of any new players is so high because of the certification requirement. I think it's very difficult for any new player to enter into this industry or make a business case out of any new aircraft. It's very difficult. Those are the major reasons why we have seen duopoly for the last 50 years so far. All right, so I will now quickly jump to the last chart, which is I will leave these areas in terms of emerging technology. These are some of the things that we are working on currently, like autonomous operations. Let's suppose an aircraft is flying without pilots. Can we do that? We are working on that. Cabin experience, how you can make your inside the aircraft feeling so good. Um, you'll be surprised to know we have come up with a AR/VR panel, which what it does is that you have a small screen, right? The IFE screen in front of your seat. With that AR/VR panel, that screen can become like a normal 60-inch TV, and you can watch and you can play on that. So all those things are happening just to make sure that, or for example, it can with that AR/VR panel, what it does is that it tricks your brain to feel that you are in a spa. I think that's how you feel. So you have a better experience out there. So those kind of things are happening apart from the seating side. Connected battle space, as I said, battle space right now is not connected, and we are trying to work that so there is a battle space, and everybody has got the same information available, so that they can take a real time information and they can work on it. Connected ecosystem, which is like how all the, like there is a ATC tower, there is a cargo, there is an airplane, there is a ground handling, everybody is together, connected together, so that they can work on that. Electrified aircraft, you'd have heard about sustainability challenges, how we can bring a new electrified or hybrid electric or hydrogen aircraft into the into the solutions. And then the last one is the structural technologies, as well as integrated solutions, which is trying to integrate solutions so that you can reduce the weight of the aircraft. So these are the areas everybody is working on, the industry side. This is my last chart. I will jump. I wanted to give a perspective in terms of so what. So whatever I have said, what does it mean for you? I think that's important. So if you are really a technology geek, you like technology. It's a good industry to work in. I guess you have high end technology to work on. Very passionate people. Some of the people I have met has been like 30 years, 35 years, 40 years in this industry, and they like this one. You work on some of the very coming in the new platform that is likely to come up. So it's an exciting feeling. You help people fly. That's a good feeling. So if you are a technology geek, I think it provides you good perspective to fulfill your passion in this industry. As a parent, I would say I think it's a good career option for kids. If you should take your kids to some of the air shows that happen in your cities. I think they are a good opportunity to learn about what happens in this industry. You can interact with some of those people there, pilots, etc., as and those things. And then the last part that we all talked about, building the nation. I think, as I said, this industry is still considered a gold standard for self-reliance. So having a final assembly line or defense manufacturing, they're both considered like a high point of any country. If you think of any developed country, I think they all have a very strong defense, because defense is not just defense. It enables the other associated industries also. You have electronics, and you would have seen that the kind of invention that happen in defense, that is already, and that has applications across industries there. And all the companies, I think, if you look at the major companies and major players in this industry, they are all like top exporters of their respective countries. Like Boeing used to be, now Boeing is in challenge right now, but till 2019 they used to be the biggest exporter. Biggest means the number one exporter of goods out of United States. Same for Airbus, they are the number one exporter of goods out of Europe. So if you have I think because it's a very global industry, and I think anything that you produce goes around to multiple industries for their applications. So good. I think both from the learning side as well as from the career prospect side, I feel like this is a good industry to be in, and it's an exciting people. I think you can make a lot of lifelong friends and also learn a lot in this process. So that's all I had, Satyam. I will stop here.
Uh, Thank you so much, Kunalda. So I think we had a lot of discussion, and it was so well presented that it ignited a lot of interest. So any more questions from the audience now? You can unmute yourself and ask.
I just want to add here, Anand, Kunal,
Hi.
very nice. So much. It was very informative. A lot of things and a lot of intricacies I did not know, but you taught us. So very insightful, and thank you so much.
No, thank you, Anna. As I said to Satyam, I think it's a great opportunity. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Maybe I had just one question.
Go ahead.
I know the technology is still or it is actually developed. In terms of 3D technology, how much of that is going to be practically used or be already being used as far as the manufacturing part is concerned? Because you highlighted that there is a backlog of 15 years and so on.
Yeah, no, I think we are already using that as Anand. So I think that because 3D technology, what helps you is that more than the parts, it makes the parts lighter. And there is in the manufacturing, I think there is a lot less emissions involved. So from the sustainability perspective, it's a big play. So there is already work going on in the 3D printing side for the parts, so, and that is all certified. So all I think we are already the industry has already embraced this technology, and I think they are working on it.
Okay, so maybe a leading question from that, what percentage of the overall manufacturing process is already automated through either robotics or 3D technology? Is it like 30-40%, or is it even more than that? And how much is still dependent on manual activities?
Yeah. No, that's a good question, and I think the ratio is much less than what you said. I think it is still in the range of 20 to 25, and I think the challenge is because if you when you assemble, there are so many rivets, so many fasteners,
Hmm.
harnesses,
Hmm.
etc., that you need to bolt it up.
Hmm.
And the shape is relatively because it's an aerodynamic shape. I think it's a slightly
Hmm.
different way as compared to car and other stuff. So
Hmm.
the mass manufacturing has still not caught up with this aerospace industry. I
Okay.
would say automation right now it will be like less than 25%, but they
Okay.
all have
Yeah.
everybody has big plans to increase that,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
still a long climb, I would say.
Yeah, no, that's good to know, because otherwise we keep guessing. I mean, you are in the industry, so you know that.
Yeah.
So again, others can ask question. I mean, I'm going on. But please stop me if others can want to ask questions. So in terms of the partner ecosystem, as you explained, the partner ecosystem plays such an important role, and you talked about the duopoly also. So I presume that most of the partner players are still majority out of Europe or Americas. Is that correct? And then I'll ask my question.
No, so if you think through it, every country has got, if you heard a term called offsets. So offsets means what happens is that let's suppose Indian government, or let's suppose Air India says
Hmm.
that we want to buy 500 aircrafts out of you.
Hmm.
So Indian government will pose some conditions that, hey, since our some of the players in our country are buying so much stuff from you, you have to procure some stuff from our country. Now there are
Okay.
multiple
Okay.
offsets. There are direct offsets. There are indirect offsets. There is a
Hmm.
huge definition. It's a long literature. You can find that out. In the
Hmm.
offset side, what you have to do is that certain percentage of the value of the procurement
Hmm.
has to be invested within the country. Now it could be
Okay.
training, it could be manufacturing, it could be supply development within the country. You source some parts from the country, you develop suppliers and you source some parts. So
Hmm.
that kind of conditions are always imposed, and every country does
Okay.
that. India has been doing that for a long time. Middle East is now doing. So it's all to promote self-reliance in the industry
Okay.
in the country
Okay.
there. So they do that. So to your point,
Okay.
I think yes, there are suppliers across the world,
Oh.
but yeah,
Okay.
India also has a lot of suppliers. You may have read that just yesterday, I think Dynamite Technologies based out of Bangalore, they won not a contract, but Airbus told them to build the door of the aircraft A220. So the door of
Okay.
the aircraft will all be assembled or built up in India, and that will be
Okay.
assembled in Europe.
Okay, okay, okay. So, so has like if I compare, I work in the IT industry. So if I compare, or if you look at the hardware industry, there was a little bit of change in the sense, although the manufacturers, like let's take an example of Apple, right? And most of the actual manufacturing for Apple would either happen in China, Taiwan. I know there is some investment in India now. So if I look at the aerospace industry, have things changed in terms of the areas or the geographies where the main suppliers have been based? Has there been any tectonic shift in the last 4 5 years, or it is pretty much remained the same?
No, I think it's always evolving. So definitely there is a lot new suppliers or lot new players that you find in this Asia Pacific region. Even in the Middle
Hmm.
East, there is a lot of new suppliers. So the role of OEMs, as you say here, there are OEMs. Then you have tier
Hmm.
one, tier two, tier three,
Hmm.
tier four, all the way to 5 and 6. Role of OEMs, which is Airbus, Boeing, Lockheed, is mostly into the integration side. They
Okay.
get parts across the globe. I think Japan
Hmm.
is a big one. in Malaysia and Singapore, they are a big one. So I think that there are suppliers all over the globe. They just produce the parts, get it certified, send it back to the OEMs for the integration side. So I think, and I think this offset is also helping build new capabilities in the new regions. So it's an evolving, I would say, process. There is still a lot of work that goes in the home bases, I would say, like Europe or US, because there is integration work that is involved. So they still have a lot of factors, much more than what you see in mobile companies like iOS, etc. They have different model, which is like because they don't need certification. So there is, I would say, maybe it is 40 to 60. 40% is still work is done in the home bases, and 60% is all
Okay.
outsourced.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much for all the
Thank you.
insights.
No, thank you.
I think Ritesh done from 1995 batch has raised his hand. So please unmute yourself.
Hi, Kunal. This is Ritesh here.
Hey, Ritesh.
Yeah, sorry, I'm still on bed. That's why I'm not on video. Wonderful talk. It's I learn a lot about the industry. One question, Kunal, is what is your company's and even the industry's outlook on volume of passengers moving forward? Is the outlook like it's going to continue to grow significantly, or are there threats? Again, unlike pandemic is something once
Yeah.
in a lifetime happens, but are there certain threats that your company and the industry thinks that might impact the passenger volume?
Yeah, no, good question. I think so. I will ask this two or three levels here. So first of all, if you look historically, the traffic, like last 5 years, last 50 years, if I ask you, if I tell you, I think it has grown between 7 to 8%, like the overall traffic growth. There is a relationship between the GDP and the traffic growth. So it's like two is to one. So if GDP grows by 1%, traffic grows by 2%. That's the high level formula or high level thumb rule kind of stuff. To answer your question, what's the step going to be? What's the future going to hold? If you look at Europe, for example, France, what they have done is they have anything that can be covered within 3 to 4 hours. They are saying that no air travel. They will just not issue you a ticket. You have to go by train. That's just not allowed in France. So the point is that sustainability, because of this whole sustainability challenge, because everybody is saying that people who are flying, they are emitting so much carbon in this in the world, and I think we don't want that. There is a carbon tax going on. So for this Amsterdam airport in Europe, I think what they have done is that they are saying that we will not let lot of landings happen in our in our airport, so that they are limiting the so they are trying to constrain the supply itself, constrain the capacity itself. They are saying that we will not accommodate more than, let's say, 100 landings or 200 landings. So all these are, I definitely a headwind in the sense that how much traffic will grow, and more so in Europe than in US. US, I guess, is still growing significantly fast. Same I would think for Asia Pacific and Middle East. But Europe is taking a very firm stand on flying, and they are saying that because it is such a big contributor to sustainability. I think if you have to travel by the train, don't take flight. In fact, they are not issuing flight tickets now. That's what I've heard. If you have to travel within 3 4 hours. So that is a big challenge right now, and that's why we are all working to ensure there is a net zero 2050 initiative, which means that whatever carbon that you emitted in 2015, same level of carbon will be emitted in 2050. And they have a roadmap for that. And sustainable aviation fuel is a big part of that, along with some of those weight reduction initiative that happens within the aircraft. So there is a roadmap to reach there. So we are still hopeful that there will not be any drastic kind of regulation that limit flying. But if you look at it, I think ultimately, and we saw that through COVID also, everybody said that traffic will, people will not fly, business travel will be cut off because there is Zoom, there is a meeting that you can do. There are limits to it, and we have seen that traffic coming back all the way even when you have technology available to you. So the fundamentals of the industry of connecting people together, that remains there. People will like to travel, go to new places. That remains there. So I still feel like if we can handle the sustainability challenge in terms of getting the weight out of the aircraft, we will still be okay. But if there is a significant pushback on sustainability and aviation being made a scapegoat out of the whole thing, there will be some I would say traffic reduction. But considering the way we have forecasted the industry, we still believe over the next 25 years it will grow by 5% annual basis.
Totally makes sense, Kunal, and that's my experience as well. One of my biggest client, I'll take the name here, AstraZeneca, big one, right? They have mandated how many miles you can fly in a year. Means earlier it was almost even for conferences you can go here, there. Every employee now has a by their designation so many miles you can fly, and you could probably drive, you could take train and all these, and it's all driven by the sustainability
Yep.
initiatives. And that was part of my question is I'm seeing that more and more in the pharma industry. I'm from the pharma industry, that most companies, particularly as you said, European, of course, right? Those companies are putting this hard, uh, and that can impact the business travel. And if it's happening in other industries, that could be one of the challenges. So thank you.
No,
One more question.
Yep.
Moving away from the industry, more you, means what got you into this industry and what kept you in this industry? What hooked you up to this industry? What do you find most interesting and challenging?
No, I was taking the audience through that journey in my first chart about myself. So I said it was never a planned one. That just happened. I was working some, I started in the manufacturing industry, moved into ISRO, and then from there it continued. But it was never a plan, I would say, and that's what when I look back, I think it felt like no, I think it was a planned one, but it at that moment it never felt like it was a planned one. So one step led to another. But I think the good part about this is that you have a lot of passionate people in this industry. There are people who have like strong industry base, they strong knowledge base of this industry. That's one. The second is that the technology that you work in, I think they are some of those are very top classified industry that you work on, and some of those industries like connected battle space. I'm working on that. That's very unique. Where you work, where you get to work with both land, navy, air, all three combined together. There is a term called JADC, Joint Air Defense Control, and that's what you work on. So you have to create that JADC control tower, and then everybody works so that everybody has got same visibility of the battle space. So those kind of things, cabin experience I'm working on. So how to make the cabin within the aircraft a good experience for the people. What are the unique innovations we can bring? So it's a very exciting things. I think there it touches people. It's like and I keep saying that it is like B2B2C market. So ultimately you are touching the consumer there. It's a business to business, but ultimately at the end of the day you have a consumer at the end. So so those things are I would say positives, but it was not a planned journey. And but I'm glad that it worked it like that.
Wonderful. No, I think that's great. And not a lot of people consider that industry, and with your experience, more and more people, means again, I learned so much about the industry today. Means I thought I fly and I know, but of course we don't. We don't know so much about the industry. It's fascinating. You talked about, for example, the AR VR set and all these that you guys are working on, such cutting edge, right? Means Apple has just come up with their first, right? Means what is it called? Something, yeah. Uh, Priced at
Vi-
$6,000, right?
Vision Pro, Vision.
Uh, Vision Pro, correct? Vision Pro, kind of with so many bugs and all these, but priced at $6,000, and you guys are working on that, and that's amazing. So, uh,
Yeah.
I didn't realize the industry is thinking so far ahead in this. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm. Anybody else would like to have any more queries or comments? I would like to just have one more question, Kunal.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead, Satya.
so it's more from economics side. So in the case of both Boeing and Airbus, we saw that like both received massive government subsidies to in their initial phases to actually come into business, and especially for Airbus it was more true because
Yeah, that's
for
right.
to fight Boeing you needed government support. So is it because the political economy in the US and Europe supports that kind of support to businesses, and it's not possible for something like it or something similar in India? So if today government comes up with some support for a private entity, the political economy basically does not favor such moves. And similarly in a communist state like China, so these are hindrances that have like limited these countries to come up with their own domestic
Yeah.
aircraft manufacturing.
Yeah, no, I think you are spot on here, Satyam. I think so. You're right. Europe always gave, and that's the whole ecosystem of Europe. Even now, they are giving some. For example, the hydrogen aircraft that Airbus is building on. Government is European government, European Union is giving a lot of subsidies to Airbus to make a new hydrogen aircraft. So, and they have been giving it in the past also. And Europe Airbus case is different because Airbus was like a multi-government cooperation movement. So Airbus used to be called EADS in the past. I'm forgetting the whole full form of that, but it is like a German, French, I guess Spain also, and UK was also involved. So every government gave some equity to form this company. So Airbus birth was very, very unique in that sense. Whereas the Boeing was more or less a commercial entity. It started like Boeing, then it acquired McDonnell Douglas, and then it became Boeing commercial. But so Boeing has been so that's purely because of the way America operates. It's a capitalist country where government gives subsidy, but not to the extent that Europe gives. So coming to the other countries, like of course China supports Comac. In fact, AVIC is a government company. That's a Chinese communist. What's that called? There is a SOE kind of state-owned enterprises. That's what the term called for AVIC, which is which who produces the C919, which is the narrow-body aircraft that China produced, just started flying last year. And coming to India, as I said, NAL government, it's a Indian PSU, which is a public sector undertaking. So government funds that. It's not like government doesn't fund it. Government funds it, and its mandate is to build aircraft. So there is, I think, because the government also recognizes that these are some of the unique technology which has a very high barriers to entry, which requires a lot of investment upfront to get the IP or to build the IP. So government do fund these kind of companies throughout the globe. I think Embraer, if you see in Brazil, Embraer was funded by the Brazilian government. And now they are a public company, but government of Brazil still has a golden handshake as part of the equity structure. If you see, so any acquisition that happens, government of Brazil has to agree to that, and that's what happened between Boeing and Embraer. Boeing wanted to acquire Embraer, I think in 2019. Government of Brazil put some very enormous, I think, very hard conditions out of that. So, my experience has been that in this industry, government is involved in throughout the globe. If you find, because it is such a unique industry and such a close to this, what's that called, the self deterrence capability of the country. So it is government is needed to be involved.
So the fiscal space becomes very important. Like if a developing country, it's very difficult to support that kind of
Yeah,
initiative to the
absolutely.
extent that US can do.
Yep. No, I agree.
Okay, so in case we don't have any more questions, then I think we can end the session today. So thank you, Kunalda, once again.
Thank you.
It was such a wonderful session. I think everybody who attended the session today benefited and gained more insights about an industry which we use every day as a consumer. So thank you once again. The session will be uploaded on YouTube for those who could not attend today. So thank you once again, and
Thank
I
you. Thank you
think
so
we
much
can.
for this opportunity. Yep. Bye all. Thank you.